Not up there. There we go. That's better. Hello, Deborah. How are you? Good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Michele, and I'm an independent demonstrator here with Stamping Up in New South Wales, Australia. Thank you for joining me today. And if you're new here, please jump on, say hello, because we'd love to say hi back to you. Sorry for the last couple of Tuesday nights I haven't been on. I have just been a little bit busy with sewing, and so by the time I got to Tuesday night, feeling a bit under the weather and a bit exhausted. So, but here we are today, and we're going to be playing with Sentimental Christmas. So this is a beautiful suite. The papers are very reminiscent of the 60s and 70s, which I love. Brings back a lot of memories to me, my childhood, and Christmas papers that my mum used to wrap all the presents up underneath the trees. And of course, as any young kid, I used to love having a bit of a snoop around around that tree, and I'm sure we've all done that. So we're going to make a card today using these papers. I'm sort of playing around with a few ideas. You may be dragged into answering some questions, which one you think is better. I'm sort of at the moment going between a couple of different coloured card bases. So let's get started, and then we'll see how we go, and maybe you can help me make a few of these decisions. Now, one thing I do have to mention with the Sentimental Christmas Designer Series paper, excuse me, for every pack of the Designer Series paper in the Sentimental Christmas that you purchase, $4.25 Australian will go towards supporting children's literacy. So if you wanted to read more about that, you can find that on page 5 in the catalogue. Otherwise, we're working on pages at the moment 28 and 29. And as you can see, all the Designer Series paper. In this collection, you've got your stamp set, you've got your dies, they've got the druzy embellishments, and we've got some ribbon also in the shaded spruce. So at the moment, there's quite a range of colours that does work with this. Hello, Nicole, how are you? And I'm sort of umming and ahhing to whether I'm going to use Pretty Peacock or Shaded Spruce as my card base. So let me just move that to one side. And I've got 2 pieces. Now, at the moment, I'm even considering maybe let's make 2 cards, but I haven't cut everything for 2 cards, but we can always do that very quickly. So I do like the Pretty Peacock with this, but we also have the Shaded Spruce. So which one do you think? I think this one here gives it a much brighter feel. This one here sort of is a little bit more subdued, and I was tending to go towards this one and teaming it up with a bit of Lost Lagoon in there. And I've also pulled out, now this is a discontinued cardstock, but we've also got the textured gold, I think, in the annual catalogue. So I just sort of had this lying around, and I thought, oh, that'd be nice as a nice little trim as well. So I'm sort of teaming it up with those. I'm also going to bring in a white circle from let me just make sure I get the right name, from the Spotlight on Nature dies. And I have already stamped up in Memento ink 3 of the stamps from this particular suite, but we won't be using the stocking one because it is going to be way too big for what I'm wanting to do. But I'm looking at either these 2 or combining those 2 together as well. Hello, Felicity. How are you? Thanks for joining us. You like the Shaded Spruce, do you, Nicole? Deborah likes the Shaded Spruce. Okay. So maybe we go with that one. I have got an idea. If we do it, because I've been cutting out my pieces here in both the Pretty Peacock and Lost Lagoon, and I thought, well, if I go Shaded Spruce, what I could always do is, let me just pop all this here to one side and grab a piece of a scrap of basic white, or a few scraps actually, And I thought if I go the shaded spruce, what I could do, because I'd like to have my leaves in a little bit of a different colour. And I was looking at what sort of colours are with it. So I've got some old olive, and I've got this one here is granny apple green and old olive. I've pulled out a whole stack of blends here. So I've got half my cupboard pulled out. And I thought what I would do is, let's grab this one here is the old olive. And all I'm going to do is just, whoops, this one here is almost dead. Let me just grab my new one. Won't be 1 second. Just got a red here behind me. Oops. This one here must be my old olive. Yes, it is. Okay. So I'm going to pop that one there. So just use these new ones. So I've got old olive here. And I'm using the brush tip, and all I'm going to do is just colour, and I don't mind there's a bit of white, whatnot else in with that. So that's in the light. Then I'm going to do the same in the dark. Now these colours will settle down a little bit. So let's do one in that one. Got the granny apple green, so let's do the same with this one. And I'm not blending the colours together because what I'm going to do, and the other one I thought I'd do would be the shaded spruce. So we've got 3 of these. Whoops. Looks like I've got to buy some new shaded spruce as well. So I hope you've all had a good week. Now what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to pop these ones aside and I'll put them away later. And I'm going to cut out with this die some little bits and pieces that we can fill in around our thing. So let's grab these and do a little bit of quick die cutting. So there's my shaded spruce piece. As I said, I don't mind if I've got a bit of white in this. So everyone had a good week. You do this with ink swipes and smooshes. Yeah, I do too. I don't normally do this sort of thing with my blends. But I just sort of thought a little bit of it was laziness because I just didn't want to get up and grab the solid cardstock. But then I thought, you know, do I really want the solid cardstock? Sometimes it's actually quite nice to have something that's got a little bit of texture in the colour. And this was just an easy way of doing it. And also to laziness, didn't want to get up and grab more ink pads. But I just thought, and I probably could have laid this a bit better to get more out of it. But anyway, let's see how we go. So I quite like this. And you could easily overlap them so you're getting a little bit of each colour in each one. So is everybody getting their Christmas cards done for Christmas? I have probably been a little bit slack, but my mojo has sort of gone a little bit at the moment. Look at that one. I don't know whether you can see it, but I've sort of cut it out a little bit across the two, the dark and the light. Looks really good. Yeah, so I've just been finding it a little bit hard to get really motivated. And I think that's just because, too, I've been, as I said, fairly busy with the sewing. Yes, it will give movement on the card. Felicity. Laziness, the real mother of, yeah. You're so right. Now, I've just done a few there in that one. So let's grab one of these others. Let's get rid of these little bits. Cut a few of these. Because really there is a lot of brightness. I love the Pretty Peacock and the softs and the Lost Lagoon with that paper. But there is brightness in it. There are some, with the shaded spruce, it has got a lot of, because it's quite a bright colour. But even some of the other colours, like it's got Poppy Parade in it, which is a brighter colour. So it's could be quite good, actually. And then I'm going to also die cut maybe a few of these in the gold as well. Just trying to get as much out of these little pieces as I possibly can. So this one here, I think, is the Granny Apple Green. And I'm just cutting the last piece in it. I'm trying to be a little bit quick here, and I'm being a little bit rough, but I'm just keeping those little pieces left over, just over there to one side, just in case I need to try to get something else out of it. We don't need a lot of these, because by the time we have all those three colours and then a bit of gold in there, we might have enough. And then we'll bring in these same three colours also in our colouring on our stamped images as well. So I still haven't worked out yet whether I'm going to use just the candles, which is only a little piece of stamp. The circle I've cut is quite large, but we can always cut another circle if we feel it's going to be too large. Oh, Deb, I hope everything is okay. We'll catch up with you later, Deb. Thank you. And let's do a little couple in the dark. I think I'm going to have to go through all my blends and work out what I need to order more of to replace some of them by the looks of it. Might leave that at that one. So I've probably cut around about 4 in each colourway. Just move this out of the road for a second because I need to cut a little bit of this. It's gold. It is a textured gold paper. It was one from a couple of years ago. I don't tend to use a lot of these sort of things, so, and I just want a little bit off that. Whoops, wrong blade, because we're going to use that in a moment. Let's bring this back in. So this is what happens when you sort of change your mind midway through coming up with an idea, and it's sort of like, yeah, everything just gets thrown out the window. We just do it all over again. That's okay. Yeah, sometimes it is. I think it's sometimes when you lose your mojo, it's actually just getting in and just start working and start creating. I just really haven't felt like even doing that. It's sort of my mojo's picking up a little bit because I've got an idea for another part of my business, which is not anything to do with card making. It's more to do with my sewing, and it's sort of getting the creative juices thinking a little bit. So it's pushing me a little bit to be a little bit more creative, which is good. But I've decided to make a few changes next year, so which I will, when I've finalised what I'm going to be doing, I'll let everybody know. But I still will be doing my lives. I won't be. I'm staying with Stamping Up. I'm not leaving Stamping Up, so don't get worried about that. And I will still be doing lives. I've been cutting, like I've got a little box here of all my of circles and sentiment strips and pieces that I've been die cutting just to have on hand, so I don't have to sort of cut a lot. So I've been sort of playing around with a few dies, Nicole, which has been good. And I think this is the last one I'll cut in this particular one. Having a collection of bits and pieces on hand sometimes works out really well, and you can just play with what you've got lying around. Let's get rid of that piece. Okay, so now we've made all new pieces there in our, rather than using those colours. So it looks like we're going to be using the shaded spruce. So I've got my shaded spruce piece here. Now this piece here I've cut at half a sheet of A4. You haven't taken up art quilting, have you? No. I stick with basic quilting. I'm not going to start another piece of quilting until the 3 quilts I've got started are finished. One I've been doing for my son since he was started around about when he was 21. He's now 27. I've really got to get it done because he and his girlfriend have decided they're going to move in together. So it'll be really great to have a quilt made for them for their bed, as long as the dog doesn't get to it. Yeah. You found doing classes did lots damage to your blends. To be truthful, I don't bring my blends out in classes. I have got a box of blends that are all discontinued colours. So if I'm going to do it in a class, I tend to bring them out. Or some of the older ones, like my old olive, where one side of it, like that one there, the brush tip is probably a bit hatted, but there's still enough ink to get colour out of the fine tip, because I use my fine tips on my blends a lot more than I use my brush tips. I will throw that into my discontinued box, and that's what I pull out when I do classes using blends, because they're not cheap to replace, and it's not that I'm being stingy, but I do, like everybody else, I have to watch what I'm spending. So it's sad when you have to get like that, but not everybody looks after things the way you might look after them, and that's it's no fault of anybody. It's just the way things are these days. So yeah, I tend not to bring my blends out. I sort of, people want to see how to use blends. I use my blends quite a bit in my online. So, yeah. And as I said, I will bring the old ones out and let them have a play with them to their heart's content. I don't care what they do with them. So, yeah. And that's just how I'm going to roll. Now, my designer series paper, I have cut this piece at 9 by 14.9, but I'm going to trim around about a mil or just a hair off the end of this, just for the fact that because it's going onto up to a fold, it's going from end to end, I don't want that piece sticking out past my folds. So when this piece gets adhered onto there, now it's just going to be that little fraction smaller. Now, the other thing I thought I would do is, I was playing around before, and I really like to put a little slither of gold on either side of this. Good morning from Germany. Lovely to have you. My son is in Germany at the moment. I think they're still in Germany. My son and his girlfriend are travelling around Europe for the next, they've probably been there they've been there for a few days now. Anyway, I'm going to trim this down to probably about 14.85. I'm just taking it just under that 14.9. So they're having a lovely holiday over there. So thank you for joining us, Tina. So it's nice to have you on here. And I'm just going to cut here probably 2 1 centimetre strips, and I'm going to place that on either side of my DSP, but I'm just going to have just a tiny little bit sticking out. Actually, I might cut a third one because we might put a little bit on the inside of our card as well. We'll see how we go. So there's 3 there. So let's grab our card base, and we need 2 of these strips. Not our card base, sorry, our designer series paper. And all I'm going to do is put a little bit on either side. So let's get our multi-purpose glue. I'm just going to run just a tiny little bit of glue along that edge. And I'm really only just gluing down with just probably only about 2 to 3 mils showing. And I'm going to do that on both sides. So I hope you can see that. And one on this side as well. Now, please, if you like what you're seeing today and you are on YouTube, please like my channel and hit follow so you can watch more of what I do. And there's on both sides. So it's just going to give that little bit of nice shine to that card, and then we're just going to adhere that to our card base. So again, I'm just going to use my multi-purpose glue. Of course, you could use a seal for any of this. I just tend to like to use my multi-purpose glue. And we're just going to pop that on the front. Just move it around a little bit. Whoops, just to have sort of got an even space on either side of that shaded spruce. Give that a really good rub down, because we've got a couple of different levels of cardstock there, because our gold piece is a bit thicker than our DSP. So there's our card base for the moment. Yeah, it does add an elegant touch, doesn't it? I just thought, oh, that looks pretty. So I'm going to pop that to one side and just let that dry for a bit. And I'm going to bring in these that I've already stamped. Now, as I said before, I have stamped these using my Memento ink. And the colours now we're going to colour these in are going to be Granny Apple Green, Old Olive, Shaded Spruce. So there's one shaded spruce. Where did I put the other one? There. Now, I'm not quite sure which one of these two we're going to use. So I've got some Daffodil Delight, because if I go the candles, we need a little bit of that. I've also got my Poppy Parade, because if we use this one, we've got the berry, and as I said, we could use both of them together. And I do have a little bit of pecan. I have pecan pie here just in case we need it, plus the Pretty Peacock and our Lost Lagoon. So we've got quite a bit here to play with. So let's just start colouring. And I think I might leave the candles in a white, but we'll start off with giving a little bit of colour. Now, as I said, I usually like to use my bullet tip pen when I'm doing this, and I'm just going to give this a little bit of colour with the wax coming down the side. I may colour the whole candle in the yellow as yet, and I'm going to put a little bit of that into the flame, and then I'm going to go the darker shade just on the flame itself. Now, these won't take long to colour because they're not very big, and that's why I tend to use my bullet tip. So I'm going to start with my lighter shades first. So I'm going to pop that Poppy Parade up there, and I'm going to start with maybe the Granny Apple Green in the light. And I'm sort of taking my ideas, not so much from this. What was I looking before at? Let me just grab that catalogue. Looking at something before, and it could have been in the larger. Let's not worry about that. Let's just colour. Let's just get this colouring in done. So I want to put a little bit of the Granny Apple Green to give it that sort of nice bright tone on those holly leaves. Now there is one leaf there that's not holly. I'm going to take my light in my Old Olive and add a little bit more of that around the outside edges. So I'm not really blending or anything. I'm just really just adding. So I've gone down through the centre, and then I'm going around some of the edges in that, and then I'm going to get my shaded spruce in the lighter one as well, and just draw in some of these highlights down through the centre as well, following more the stems. So I've really just used the light in those three greens. And then I'm going to come back and just add a little bit of dark. Now I'm just adding just a few spots because it is just a very small sort of area. And I'm thinking that this other leaf I might just do in Old Olive. I want a little bit more brightness, I think, in these leaves. And I think the only way I'm going to get that is with the Granny Apple Green and the shaded spruce. So I'm just sort of got the dark one here, and I'm just adding a little bit of shading there. As I said, it's fairly quick to colour because these images are very, very small. Now, this is the Poppy Parade, and I'm just going to add a few dots of colour into that. As I said, I don't mind if I leave a little bit of white space. And the dark, I'm just going to just add one dot really of the dark. There are some lines there which represent like pine needles. And I'm thinking actually I might grab the Lost Lagoon and just do those because it's a completely different colour. And I don't think it's going to take away from that. So that's what I've just done there. Whoops, there we go. Probably not as bright as what I would like. You and Seal don't get along well. It flies across the room regularly. Yeah, I don't use Seal a lot myself. I tend to use my multi-purpose glue, though I'm using my Seal more with the scrapbooking side of things because I like to have a bit more control. I don't like using multi-purpose glue on my photos. I tend to be a little bit more old school with them. But now I'm going to start colouring in this bigger one here and just see how we go with the colours. So really I've got my light, my Granny Apple Green, and I'm just going around colouring. I'm not really overly worrying about blending colours or anything like that at the moment. So I'm just really just trying to lay colour down. And as I said before, I don't mind if there's a bit of white space. Yeah, my favourite, if I'm making cards, I love multi-purpose glue because I love to be able to slide my card into place and have that time frame that it gives you to do that, that you don't get when you use a dry glue. But when it comes to scrapbooking, I tend to like my dry glue. I don't know whether things will change, but I think that's just old habits because when I used to do Creative Memories many, many years back, 20-odd years back, I used to use their tape runner, which was a dry glue. And then even when I worked on a scrapbooking design team here in the Southern Highlands, again, I only ever used a tape runner or a dry glue or even a tear and tape. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the light in the shaded spruce and just put a few highlights in here. So if anyone was to ask me what my favourite glue is, it'll be straight up multi-purpose glue. But then, as I said, it just depends on what I'm doing. Because I think every glue has a different function, and there is a reason for using each one. So yeah, you get that wriggle room with the multi-purpose, don't you? Which is good. The tear and tape is really good if you're doing 3D projects. I mean, when I was a scout leader, and I was a Joey scout leader, so that's with the littlies, every year we had a mob holiday, and because we had to make costumes, and the number of costumes I made, and it was all put together with tear and tape type products. You know, like I went one year as the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, and I made myself a hat, which was a big teacup on my head, and that was made. I made 2 of those, and it was all glued together with tear and tape. Fantastic stuff. So it really tends to hold. So now I'm just going over this with the darker shaded spruce, just giving it a bit more. And I may even use this to do, and I'm going to go over this again in a minute with the darker granny apple green. I'm really just dotting down colours and lines, and I'm not got really any formula here at all. I'm just laying down colour. So I'm going to now just follow the branches, just being very careful, trying to keep within those lines as much as I possibly can. And then the dark granny apple green, just again to add a little bit of that brightness. And again, it's just really adding colour. The images are too small to worry about blending and okay, so now let's add our Poppy Parade. Over time, wet glue application tends to stay together longer than tape, which can be more affected by temperature. Yeah, you can also use your liquid glue and your tape together. I have seen a lot of people doing that, especially when making handmade albums. When I've made albums, I've always used tape runner, but I have seen a lot of people use both together, especially when you're going to do the spine, where you actually want quite a bit of strength in whatever adhesive you're using. Again, with my dark Poppy Parade, just adding 1 or 2 dots onto each little berry, just to add a little depth of colour. And what also would be nice on these, I don't have it, but if you had a gold gel pen, you could even go around and add a little bit of that. I don't know, don't know how this would go. This is Winker Stella. This is an old one. We don't have this anymore. It's in the gold. But you could even just add, to just give it a little bit of glitter as well. And I'm only using this really, really light. And I'm just putting a bit on each leaf. But you could do this with a gel pen. Even the enamel in the gold, water it down. And use a brush and just very gently just add a bit of that. I might just add a little bit here onto here as well. Once that dries, that'll also give it a little bit of a glitter. Actually, I might even just add, I know I'm going to cut this out, but I'm just adding a little bit of, because we've got the gold on the other. Just get some thicker dots. That's enough because I don't really want to do too much. But I'll have to see if I can get myself a a gold pen. I'm just looking. I've got a white one here, but I think it's dead. Goodness knows how long that's been in there for. And I don't think it's well and truly in the bin. So if we don't play with these things all the time, you buy things throughout the years, and that's just going to give that really nice little bit of gold sparkle. So I'm sorry I'm playing with a product we don't have anymore, but if you've still got it in your stash, pull it out. Okay, so let's cut these out and then we can start working out exactly what we're going to do. So let me just cut these down a bit. So I'm going to take that out of there because we don't need him. And let's bring in, I'm going to cut this part out as well. And we're going to cut those too. I have to say to you all, I really do enjoy Fridays. I do enjoy Tuesdays as well when I do my lives. Just lately, as I said, I've been exhausted. Just trying to find my plates. I'm sure these aren't the ones I used before, but anyway, so I've got a few of them. But I really enjoy having you guys here and having a chat with you. It's always really relaxing. And anyway, I've just laid that on there, and I've laid it as close as on top. Our Stampin' Up! Dies do hug our images really, really well. If you're worried about it moving, which mine just did, put some tape on it. I use this Post-it note tape, and I get this from Officeworks. It's a Burroughs brand. And it works quite well for what I want to do. So there's one. And then we've got this one here, and I've got the other piece here. Now, as I said, I'm not quite sure yet whether I'm going to use both of these or just one of these or both of which one. So we'll see how these are going to look. So there's our pieces. Pop our dies over there. So let's bring in our card front, our circular piece. Now I may have to get up and get, because I did only bring over Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock for the sentiment. So I may need to go and get my shaded spruce, but that's okay. I should be able to get that right behind me. I'm just getting those little pieces out of there. I can be a little bit pedantic with that. And the sentiment I thought we would use is "Have a Merry Christmas." And let me just grab shaded spruce. So pop that up there. Just let me test that on corner of my scratch paper over here. I might need to re-ink this ink pad. It's not one I use a lot. Okay. Now, let's see. I want to have that probably around about there. That's looking good. So that's our shaded spruce. Now let's bring this card in again. What I was thinking is actually trimming that off one edge of that, but we'll see how we go, because it's such a big circle that it's covering a lot of the design, and I didn't want to cover a huge amount of the design, but I wanted to use this to fill in some of this space, but I'm just not quite sure. And then maybe that candle's there. So you sort of got the two together. And then, so I think what I might do is trim this down first. So let me grab a pencil. And I think I want to trim that down there to there. May not even use many of those bits and pieces that we've cut. And I've just got my little trimmer here. So let's adhere this bend down. I'm going to glue this straight down. Actually, it's not going to go, it's going to go around about there. And I'm going to have that sitting up a little bit. So that's going to go there, and I don't mind it coming off. And I'm going to, just wondering whether I might pop dimensionals underneath it. I think we will. So let me grab some dimensionals. Whoops. Every size but the size I want. Here we go. So let's start by just popping these on. And I'm just going to pop two on there, one at the top, one at the bottom. And then our candle can go. Now, do we put our candle on there or not? So let's just, got that just sitting there for the moment. Actually, I'll pop a dimensional on the back of it, because we'll probably only need one. And it's going to go that way. And that way, because the other part of it will glue on. So I'm sort of thinking that can go there. Then we've got all these little bits and pieces. And we can add all of these. Not quite sure whether we even need them. Maybe we don't even need it. Maybe if we just... tend to like that there. think I like the candles there because I think it brings in all the candles on the Christmas trees. So I'm going to adhere that down, but I'm going to pop a little mini one at the top there. So that's that. And I'm just going to glue these all in and around. Not overly fill it, but just this one here is lightened up quite a bit. I don't know whether you can see it, but it's that's the shaded spruce. So I might just pop that underneath. So far I've got a gold one on there. I've got the, let's use this, just push that in a bit. Granny apple green and a shaded spruce. So I've got that there. It's wanting to pop up a bit up there, so I might just pop a little bit more glue underneath there just to hold that down. And I think we'll pop one underneath there. Now this is the Granny apple green again. Maybe another gold. Because you can cut these down a little bit. Let's grab my tweezers. Because we don't want it to hide our candles or our sentiment. And I don't want to put too much. That may even be, just having a look to see whether, because again, I just want to cut this down. I don't want all of that in there. I might just pop, so I've got a group of 3 there and maybe just a group of 3 up the top here of these little leaves. Again, I've got to get that right in. Just pushing it right down behind that gold one, so it's just popping out from behind it. Let me just bring that up so you can see what I've just done. So really it's just giving a bit of a swoop again, going in a little bit of a circular motion. Because the other thing that I've got here, so we'll keep all of those for another card, but I did grab here the druzy dots. Now, where have I have popped them on my desk here somewhere underneath all my little bits and pieces. There they are. And they've also got that nice goldy colour in it, sort of like a browny gold. So let's just pop a couple of these, and I'm going to pop maybe one in there. Whoops, just want to, he's sitting a little bit on that candle. So let's just pop him just above that, to the side of that candle a bit there. I might just stick with the little ones, and I want to pop another one probably there, and then a third one maybe in around there. So there's the front of our card. It's just a little bit of a swirl of colour there. And the other thing I might do is grab that Winker Stella in the gold again and just put a little bit of that onto my candles. I think it just needs a little bit of brightness in that candle there. Okay, so the only thing we've got left to do is our card insert. So I've got a piece of basic white here. We did have a bit of that gold, but I do want to add a strip of this as well. So probably want to put a piece of that. Let's cut that at 14.4. Just cut that little bit off. And let's grab this gold piece. We'll pop a little bit of glue on the back of that. Just looking to see which side I want to put the glue on. Now, I didn't cut this piece overly straight, so we just got to play with what we've got. It'll be right. Oops, and I could have cut this piece down. So I'll make sure that that's 14. No, this piece needs to be cut down a little bit. So let me just grab this and just make sure I've got this the right size. So that should be 10. By 14.4. It's our insert size. Grab our scissors and just trim that down. Just a little bit of that gold off. Make sure we've got that nice and straight. Yep. Whoops, just put my finger right into that glue. Just clean my fingers off before I touch this. We'll put a bit of glue on. Just moving that trim in there. That little bit of gold on there just gives you that little bit of nice bit of bling in there. I don't know how well I've cut all of that. There you go. There's my card for today. So I started off with using completely different colours, but with the help of you guys, I think that looks great. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope that's encouraged you to grab hold of this particular suite yourselves. If you are looking to purchase this and you don't have a demonstrator, of course, I'm quite happy to be your demonstrator, and you can find my shop on butterfliesandbows.com or michellejutrissa.stampingup.net. This whole suite, as I said before, is on page 2829, and when you purchase just the paper or the suite collection, $4.25 from each sale does go towards children's literacy here in Australia. So thank you very much for joining me today. There's our card again. It's always wonderful having time and spending time chatting with you guys. I really do love it, and you guys really do encourage me a lot. And as I said, I've sort of been a little bit behind the 8 ball lately because my mojo has gone away on holidays and left me behind. So it's good to get on here and have a chat with you guys and encourage each other. So take care. Have a lovely weekend. It's starting to get a bit dark out there. I did hear my husband in the kitchen before, so I'm sure he's got my lunch in the oven all ready to go. So I'm going to go and have that. So if you have any questions or anything, please just, message me via my Facebook Messenger or whatever. Love to answer whatever questions you may have. So take care. I've now got a lot of cleaning up also to do in here, and we'll catch up with you hopefully on Tuesday and at least next Friday. So bye for now. Thanks, Nicole.